darkness, my old friend.
Greetings and welcome to Old Drunken Discography, where old friends, fans come together to BS, argue, occasionally agree, and discuss a musical artist. This week's musical artist is Simon and Garfunkel. I'm your host, Jason. Your other host is Tim.
Hashtag look for the carrot.
And the person who brought you this band this week, Bill.
I like finding carrots.
Now, this I just want to give a little heads up. This series might be a little bumpy. I got a new computer. I've got all my settings have been screwed up. So if anything looks more funny than usual, that's why. Yeah, what else? Let's just jump into it, shall we? Simon and Garfunkel.
You got like a personal history with this band?
Yep. Personal history with Simon and Garfunkel. Who wants to start?
I mean, I could definitely start here.
As the oldest and wisest.
Indeed.
Yes. And the one who brought us this.
Yep, I say it definitely brought this. So Simon and Garfunkel for me has been around most of my life, most of my musical journey. Actually, a couple of these songs helped teach me different things to do while I was learning to play a piano. I also learned, how different structures and stuff happened with some of these songs as well. And, I was familiar with, on top of the singles, I was really familiar with Wednesday Morning, Sounds of Silence, Parsley Sage, as well as Bridge Over Troubled Water. Bookends, I wasn't as familiar with. I have watched the movie The Graduate. If you have not, go watch it. Yeah, I've just really enjoyed Simon and Garfunkel. Really, my entire life. I've also followed Paul Simon's musical career afterwards, and I followed Art Garfunkel's a little bit afterwards as well.
What little there was.
Just say there wasn't much.
He's gonna be in the movies.
But that being said, I mean, this is one that I enjoyed this week listening to. I know that.
Well, mine, I guess I was first aware of Paul Simon because of the They Call Me Al video, which is fucking hilarious. Didn't really know anything about Simon and Garfunkel, but I knew the songs, just, they were just in the zeitgeist until the Forrest Gump soundtrack. Because Mrs. Robinson's on here. This thing fucking rules, dude. Great soundtrack.
Yes, it does.
And mine's a red, white, and blue. Happy 4th of July.
America.
But I never wanted to listen to any Simon and Garfunkel records until Bill picked them and made me listen to them. But I do have some on vinyl, and we'll go through those when we get to them. But
nice.
Shout out my aunt or uncle. It was one of their collections. They gave me a bunch of records. Whole bunch of Jimmy Buffett, and there was some Simon and Garfunkel too.
Well, and that's interesting. You mentioned those two artists together because that certainly comes up in notes here. Yeah, I mean, I definitely got in on the Graceland train and knew who Paul Simon was. And then eventually, as you look further into it and realize that he had all these other hits with Simon and Garfunkel. And, so yeah, I mean, just, been alive for a couple of decades and been aware of a number of these songs. And, but much like Jason, never heard anything in any context, not even the Forrest Gump soundtrack or.
You're missing out, man.
No, I've heard that soundtrack. I'm not missing.
Okay.
Yeah. Nothing too deep there.
You got CCR, dude.
Well, exactly.
Youngbloods, Beach Boys.
Oh, yeah.
Some Dylan, which we'll talk about later.
Yeah, I mean,
Yes, we will.
all fine artists, all their just most popular hits, though.
We'll get to top songs.
Yeah, we'll get to top songs. Anyway, never had a real interest to dig too deep. New that came out of the folk scene, which outside of the folksmen, I'm not really big on that scene. So, um, yeah.
Yeah, my aunt and uncle gave me
New artist, new discography.
they gave me a bunch of like soft pop from the '60s on vinyl. So who wants to start Wednesday morning?
Good. Some of it's good, yeah.
I mean, I could definitely start with discography off here.
All right.
So we start with Wednesday morning, 3 a.m. Well, so we start with You Can Tell the World. It's upbeat, fast-paced gospel rock. Um, it puts Creed to shame, that's for sure. I, Christian rock or gospel rock isn't something that I avidly go and pursue, but in the right context, I could enjoy it. Last night I had The Strangest Dream, top song contender. Now we got some folk coming in. I'm definitely here for it. Uh, just really enjoyed that song. Bleecker Street. Uh, it's a homage to a small town life with religious influence going on. Again, really enjoyed that one
Bleecker Street, the
thoroughly.
middle of downtown New York.
Oh yeah,
Small town life.
oh yeah. Sparrow feels a little forced at times with some of the vocals and lyrics. Kind of interesting societal rhetoric going on though with it as well. Benedictus is a modernized Gregorian chant, for lack of better phrasing. Then we get to The Sounds of Silence, which is the original acoustic version for Columbia Records when overdubbed electric instruments over it for a follow-up album.
Without
Uh,
the band's knowledge.
without, let's say, they didn't know about it. Just like, oh yeah, we did it. Happy,
Well, we'll
congratulations.
get to those notes.
But side note, I'll say this version of The Sounds of Silence is my favorite. Um, and personal note then for Sounds of Silence, this was how I actually learned how to left-hand chord on the piano. Because it's a bunch of minor key rolling chords. They're not rolling. I don't know what the technical term is, but it's a 1-5-3-5 alternating. Um, he was my brother. It's minimalistic but impactful. That's what I wrote for that. I again really enjoyed it. Peggy-O, uh, it's uh, so a number of these were based on traditional songs. Personally, I've always been more of a fan of the Bonnie Lassif 5EO, which Peggy-O got based off of in the 19th or 18th century. Um, and Bonnie Lassif 5EO just as a whole song is superior to Peggy-O and all its versions that I've heard. Um, that being said, it wasn't bad. It's just I had a natural predisposition to the other version that Peggy-O was based off of before that. Go Tell It on the Mountain for a version done by a band. It's not my favorite, but it's not terrible. I mean, it's a standard gospel song. The Sun is Burning. Thought it had really cool guitar parts going on it, cool guitar picking. Times are changing. Can't go wrong with the Bob Dylan cover. Nothing crazy was added onto it though. And then you got Wednesday morning, 3 a.m., the title track and closing track. I love the vocal inflections, and it was a great end to the album. Something I will note, as far as I'm concerned, the ends to all 5 of these Simon and Garfunkel studio albums are phenomenal. For me, I can't go wrong with any of these closers.
I have a favorite.
I do too, but at the same time, like I love them all for the closers, especially.
I'll go next. I'll follow that up. I took my notes on the vinyl version. It sounded great, It wasn't. It was a 65 press, so it was the stereo.
Close to an OG, yeah.
It wasn't the mono, but super warm. The recording on the guitar sounded fucking good. But listen, the songs, I would have paid good money to see Tim's face when this song was playing. Did it bring you joy, 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 Tim?
No.
Okay. I didn't mind it. It comes out swinging more than I was expecting. The opening lines are, well, you can tell the world about this. You can tell the nation about that. Tell them what the master has done. Tell them that the gospel has come. I give that a 3 out of 5. It fits the discography, but it's nothing special. Last Night, didn't mind this one either. Great lyrics and vocal melody. Plus you got Paul Simon ripping the shit up on a banjo. What's not to love? Bleecker Street, I wasn't a big fan of this one. It's the first original on the album, I'll say. Melodic wise, it kind of reminded me of Rant's Telegraph Avenue. The way they end some of the verses, which was interesting. Sparrow, I wasn't a fan of this one either. Second original. It was pretty in parts. You can hear Pink Floyd coming down the line with this one. But other than that, Benedictus, okay, now there's 3 in a row. This got me not feeling this one. But okay, Sounds of Silence, I agree with I agree with Bill. It's a fucking classic. I prefer this version. Still holds up. And I love that it went viral like a few years ago. He Was My Brother, I actually dug it. The lyrics were excellent. Best line, they shot him dead because he hated what was wrong. I don't want to say it builds. Instead, like the intensity of the strumming kind of rises and falls through it. It's pretty good shit. Peggy O was fun, melodic wise. Go Tell It on the Mountain was decent. It works well enough. They put enough energy in it to keep it going. The Sun Is Burning, take it or leave it. Times Are A-Changin'. This is such a good fucking song. I love early Dylan. This doesn't touch the original, but it's fine. The only thing I don't like is when they try to do a Bob Dylan accent on it. They should have just sung it like Simon and Garfunkel style, but whatever. And when the closing track. So when this one started, I was writing out notes in the vein of this is one of those songs that douche with a guitar would write and always play at parties. But then, holy shit, the lyrics take a left turn. It went from a cheesy love song to a one-night stand to maybe buying a prostitute to robbing a liquor store and then back to a love song. The morning is just a few hours away indeed. Fantastic closing track. That was a good story, that last song. I was hooked.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you guys pretty much covered my notes. I'm going to agree. This is the best, definitive, and only version of The Sound of Silence you will ever need. I wasn't really the biggest fan of the Dylan cover. It's a little straight. I was surprised how well, yeah, I mean, you guys covered it. My overall notes are basically like there's 0 drums, there's no percussion on this album whatsoever. It's very religious. It's also weaves a lot of anti-war themes in there. And it's very 60s in its approach, and I don't know, it's very folky. Very folky, very religious. A lot of gospel music going on here. So, yeah. That's what you're into. I'm sure it's fine.
There's no hashtag first album bias. It's hashtag no percussion bias.
I'm just saying,
where the drums
as
at.
a drummer, you're going to give me a whole album?
Not a single drum.
Well,
okay.
We'll see.
Yeah, Simon and Garfunkel.
I was pleasantly surprised they changed as much as they did, honestly. I was expecting this album 5 times.
Well, we're going to get into it on the next album, but you can really hear when the British... This is a perfect example of you can hear the British invasion hitting America.
Yeah.
Pre and post.
Yeah.
Say it's there.
This feels very Perry Como and Johnny Fontaine, but surprisingly religious. I was shocked.
I was too.
So,
Yeah, I didn't.
because I know the first time I was doing it, I was surprised how religious it was. But we see where they go from here.
There ain't nothing religious about that closing track, though.
No,
No.
well, and it's interesting because you got this like pretty religious album, right? And then the times are changing, and we're gonna close with a song about sinning.
That's actually pretty good track placement. I didn't think of that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Transition to the rest of the discography. Here we go.
Right. And if you're, listening to it on an OGLP or whatever, The Sound of Silence closes out side A. So you're like, oh, okay. Yeah.
Interesting. We about to go deep on some Simon and Garfunkel. Stick around. The Sounds of Silence is next. We're a playlist link channel. You can click the playlist link down below to watch all these videos in a row. We have a Discord.
Or shuffle them up.
Or shuffle them. Yeah, watch them out of order.
Yeah. Because then you'll hear all the punchlines before the setups.
Right. And that's probably the best part. Anyway, be safe and make good decisions.
And then you go a little woo, and then a little whoop, 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 and then it's all, and then you're ready to go again. Yo, come back now, you hear?